We have now reconstituted a new Budget and Appropriations Committee. Let me be on record, it will not be business as usual.
Mr. Speaker, how on earth can one county have an allocation, budget allocation of 12 billion shillings and a whole region has 60 million shillings, Mr. Speaker? What kind of country are we living in?
Majority Leader Kimani Ichugwah and Minority Leader Junet Mohammed have come out in blaming or laying a blame to former Budget and Appropriation Committee Chair Ndindi Nyoro, citing that Ndindi Nyoro has been misappropriating, using the office or misusing the office to benefit himself and the people of Kiharu constituency. Yesterday, during a hot debate, Kimani Ichugwah labeled Ndindi Nyoro as the highest corrupt and misuse of power of the management of committee. Here is the clip of Kimani Ichugwah saying that Ndindi Nyoro has been stealing from Kenyans.
And I say this, Speaker, because we have now reconstituted a new Budget and Appropriations Committee. Let me be on record, it will not be business as usual. This House will not sit back and allow members who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee to use the position they hold in that committee to appropriate money to only their constituencies at the expense of other Kenyans. Because all these 349 members come here to represent people. They come here to seek and lobby for resources to go back to their people. That is why the people of Vihiga are crying today. It is sad that you would find in a county that was to benefit from public participation, a national polytechnic in a county that was slated to benefit for public participation, getting a meager 10 million shillings, whereas in another county where a member in the Budget and Appropriations Committee sits in, a national polytechnic gets 250 million shillings. It is immoral, it is unethical, and very unprofessional of us who sit in those committees. And I say it will not be business as usual because we have agreed as the House leadership, both in the majority and the minority party, that those who get the opportunity to sit in whichever committee you sit in that committee to ensure that there is equitable allocation and share of resources across the country. And we will make sure that that happens.
When it came to the turn of Junet Mohammed also joined hands in supporting what Kimani Ichugwah had said about the Budgetary and Appropriation Committee Chair, who is Ndindi Nyoro. Junet further said that Ndindi Nyoro has been allocating his county a total of almost 12 billion shillings. In that 12 billion, his constituency, where it represents as Kiharu, gets around 3 billion in MGCDF, while others get up to 100 or 200 million. Where now the disparity of what is happening between the two constituencies.
Those atrocities, Mr. Speaker, cannot be shied away from talking about, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, how on earth can one county have an allocation, budget allocation of 12 billion shillings and a whole region has 60 million shillings, Mr. Speaker? What kind of country are we living in? Mr. Speaker, the Budget and Appropriation Committee went around the country to do public participation. And they ended up agreeing that they are going to use 2 billion shillings to allocate to those counties that they have visited, Mr. Speaker. That amount ended up ballooning to 12 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. And the beneficiary of that 12 billion shillings is not those counties that public participation was done on, Mr. Speaker. It is other counties and other constituencies, Mr. Speaker. The Budget and Appropriation Committee of this House has reached to the level where the chair of that committee, Mr. Speaker, now, members of parliament are going to his constituency for benchmarking, Mr. Speaker. Benchmarking. And all of us are supposed to receive the same amount of NGD CDF, Mr. Speaker. What is making our members to go and benchmark in a colleague's constituency, Mr. Speaker? Because the colleague is receiving more funding because of him being the chairman of the budget committee. Let's be honest to Kenyans. Let's tell Kenyans the truth, that he was sitting in an advantageous position of chairing that powerful committee of the House, which you could do skewed allocation of resources to his constituency, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, which member of parliament here can afford through his NGCDF to build classrooms, plaster them, put windows, put roof, put tiles in the classroom, cabros in the... Mr. Speaker, which member of parliament can afford to do that here? With a mere resources of 100 million shillings, Mr. Speaker, and advertise on Citizen Primetime News. Which member can do it? Can you raise up your hand if you can do that? None of the 349 members of this House, Mr. Speaker, can afford to do that. That can only be done by somebody who has access to bigger resources than any other member, Mr. Speaker. The Budget and Appropriation Committee did not start the other day. The distinguished leader of the majority party, Mr. Speaker, has been the chair of that committee for many years. And he has never done those things. I have been with him in this House. He has been very careful, and he has shared the resources of the country equitably, Mr. Speaker. I can say that without any fear of contradiction. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind members of this House, for those of us who have been here that time, who have been here for long, when the Budget Committee was chaired by Honorable, what's his name? The Member of Parliament from Embu, the Reverend Mutaba Musimi, Mr. Speaker. Members of that committee did the same thing they have done the last 2 years. And one afternoon, the late Honorable Jacoyo Bidiwo came to the House, and he was seated exactly where I'm sitting today, and told the House the amount of money the Budget Committee put for themselves in the budget, Mr. Speaker. And the whole committee, that time, the membership of the Budget Committee was 52 or 51? 51. The whole committee was dissolved. And a new committee was formed, Mr. Speaker, based on what Honorable Jacoyo presented to the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if the Budget Committee does its business the way that the defunct committee has done, Mr. Speaker, the only option, the only solution to Mr. Speaker, that's available for this House is to convert the 349 members of this House into a Budget Committee. The whole House becomes a committee of the budget, Mr. Speaker.
You know, these conversations are happening when Ndindi Nyoro has been removed as the Budget and Appropriation Committee chair, which is set for the replacement this week, where one of the Raila's close allies is expected to take the position of Ndindi Nyoro. In addition, for the past 4 years or 5, Ndindi Nyoro has been among the top 10 leaders in management of NGCDF in the country, where Babu Wino always takes the lead, followed by Tim Wanyonyi, and nearly closely to the tie of top 3 is Ndindi Nyoro Kiaru, Member of Parliament, who was once a close ally of President William Ruto, but now facing eviction when it comes to the House Committee business. Ndindi Nyoro has suffered, and there is a video of Ndindi Nyoro elaborating to members of Parliament how he maximized the use of NGCDF in his constituency. The video resurfaced after Ndindi Nyoro was removed as the Budget and Appropriation chair. Here is the video of Ndindi Nyoro educating fellow members of Parliament during a benchmark tour to his constituency.
Take 1 million. Wenye tuko nyuma tunaona. Kiharu primary. Hakuna shule kama hiyo, lakini just for demonstration. Kiharu primary. Then constituency X primary. Sitaki kusema ine. Hivi ndivyo tulifanya kazi. Nikipeleka hii check na huyu MP apeleke hii check, both 1 million. Huyu mbunge wa X constituency akipeleka hiyo check ya 1 million, ataenda apigiwe makofi, aibiwe, akitoka kwa gate ya hiyo shule hii 1 million akiondoka tu hivi, kwanza anaondoka na 160,000. 160,000. Si mnaelewa ni ya nini? Nitanidi kusema kitu hapo. 16% ni nini? Hapo mnaelewa. Hiyo anaondoka nayo kwa gate. Alafu huyu contractor ameleta, huyo sio mtu ya serikali, ni mtu wa biashara. Na yeye anaangalia faida, the least 30%. 300,000. So, mbunge hajaiba, CDF chairman hajaiba, mwalimu hajaiba, lakini mbunge akipigiwa makofi akifika kwa gate hivi, anaondoka na 460,000. Now, hii yetu tumepeleka hapa from, do you know how we manage? We manage like accrual account. Pesa ikiingia, tunatoa 5% ile admin. From there, mchanga ikikuwa ordered, inalipwa from this account, which mtaelezwa maneno ya procurement ya hiyo later. So, without stealing, without anything, our work will be double than yours.